Hi everyone, how are you doing today? Today's card is going to feature one of the images in the Pun Fun stamp set, which actually is on the last chance list, so you only have until the end of the month to grab the stamp set if you do like it. It comes with a whole bunch of cartoony sets with these cute little sayings here, but for today's card we're just going to use this rocket ship. And the papers that I'm using actually are also on the last chance list, and they actually happen to be on sale. It is the Playdate Designer Series paper. So let's get started. First off, our card base. It's crumb cake and it's 10 by 5, and I scored it right in the middle at 5 inches. And don't forget, when you're folding your cards, it is best that you use the bone folder, because that way it gives you these perfect, nice, crisp folds. So we're gonna fold that. There you go. Now I'm using my next sheet that I'm going to add on. It's the polka dotted So Saffron that comes from the paper pack, and that is 4 7/8 by 4 7/8. So we're going to adhere that down onto our card base. So let's get that down and center it. Okay, and the next piece that's going down is the real red polka dotted designer print, and that one is 4 by 4. And that is also going to go right in the middle. Okay, now next is the numbers. It's the one that has the real red hearts at the back there. So this one I cut to 3 7/8 by 3 7/8, and we're going to put that right in the middle. Also, so this card, as you can tell already, it's a really super simple layout that you can use with any stamp set if you don't have this particular stamp set that I have. It's such a simple layout that it would basically go with just about anything. So let's put that down like so. So far this is our card base. So for now we are going to put that on the side. Next, you're going to cut a piece of black cardstock that is 2.5 by 2 1/4, and you're going to stamp down the spaceship, rocket, whatever you want to call it, with Whisper White ink, and that's the craft ink. And if you've noticed, when you use the craft inks, it's not like the classic ink. It is pigment based, so it is best if you set it with the heat emboss tool. That way it won't get all, I'll just show you. You see how it's smudging over like chalk? That's what happens if you don't heat set it. Not all the time. Like this one I didn't heat set and I got lucky. This one is, it's not going anywhere. But it's usually best when you're using the craft that you do heat emboss it. And just another tip also, when you do it, don't grab too much ink, because if you grab too much ink and press too hard, I don't know if you can have a look, you can already see that just too much of the ink goes, especially where the lettering is, and then what happens is when you go to press down and stamp, you might get, as you can see, you might get too much of the pigment ink. This one's a bad example because this one actually turned out decent, but what ends up happening usually is you might get all over the image, you might get just a little bit too much ink. So that's something to keep in mind, okay? So you're gonna stamp it on basic black, and like I said, it's up to you if you want to heat emboss, but for now we're going to put that to the side. Okay. Next, what you want to do is now you want to use just any scrap of Whisper White, and you're going to stamp the image with, again, completely up to you. I like to use my StazOn just because we're going to do some coloring, and I like that the colors won't bleed. So you can use the StazOn, or you can use the classic Stampin' pad in the basic black, and we're going to stamp it twice on any scrap of Whisper White paper. Okay, so one, re-ink, and you can put them right beside each other because we're actually going to end up cutting out the rocket ship. And two. Okay, if you're using StazOn ink, you want to make sure, maybe give it a few extra seconds to dry. It doesn't dry as quickly as the classic does. In the meantime, while we let this dry, I'm going to tell you the colors that I used to color my rocket ship. Basically, I stuck with the color theme that the designer paper series come with. So I chose So Saffron, Rio Red, and Tempting Turquoise, and we're going to color this in using the Stampin' Up! Blender pens. If you've never used the Stampin' Up! Blender pen, basically all we're going to do is we're just going to squeeze the lid down, and when you squeeze the lid down and you flip it open, you get some ink on the cover. You're going to grab some ink from there, and now you have instant color. I'm just going to color it on. Okay, so on the first one, we're just going to color, making sure that these outside areas are perfect. The inside, don't care too much because it's actually not going to show, but I do still color it in just a little bit because when we add the dimensions, you can still kind of see the colors in at an angle. So now we want to actually perfect on the second one. This one we want to make sure it's perfect the way I prefer. And on the second one, we don't need to color in these areas. Now we're ready to move on to the next color. When you're ready to move on to the next color, all you have to do with your blender pen on scratch paper, or we can even do it up here since we're not going to be using these areas, you just keep coloring away until the color is all gone. And now it's ready to move on to the next color. So the next color that I'm going to do is the turquoise, but I only need the turquoise for this one here. I'm just going to color in the dots. And this little area here. And again, on a scratch piece of paper or on here, I'm going to keep rubbing away until all the turquoise is gone. Or of course you can use the other side of the blending pen. Now on to the real red. We're going to put some on the first one, and again on the first one it doesn't matter if you completely do a great job or not because this won't be showing, but I just like to color it in anyways, just so that when you see the card at an angle you can still see it. The colors still go, like you won't see a white rocket ship under. So now here's the part that we want to take our time with and just make sure we do a nice job. This might have been easier if we did the real red first and then went in with the turquoise dots. Whatever works for you. Alright, so there we go. We have our two rocket ships that are colored. Okay, so using your paper snips on the first image, you're going to cut out the entire rocket ship, but on the second, you're only actually going to cut out the part that we colored, that area right there. And it's up to you if you want to cut it completely directly on the line, the drawing lines, or if you want to do it with a little bit of a white border. It's completely up to you. Okay, now with the magic of TV, I've already had two cut out. So here's one. This is the one that, this is the first one on the left hand side. It's that one right there. So you want to cut out the entire thing. And then the second one, you only need to cut out the center. And what we're going to end up doing, it's going to pop up like so. But before we do that, we got to finish up our card here. So you take your, this is the old olive pattern paper again, and this one measures 2.5 by 2 3/4. And then you can go and get the basic black one, the one that you stamped again, and we got to adhere the basic black to the old olive, and the old olive to the center of the card. Okay, now you got to get your Stampin' Dimensionals. And we're going to put one here and another one down here. And the first one that we stamped, one on the left hand, the full one, that goes on top. Then we want to put another, you can do one or two. I'm going to do two just in case if I have to mail this. And you take the second one and put it on top. And there we go. There you have our Euroblast card. As you can see, it was a really super simple layout, but the focal point is the actual rocket ship. Don't you just love how it pops up like that? And this is why I was telling you that you should color that first one, just in case when you see it on the angle, you still see red and so saffron, as opposed to just seeing completely white. And that's it.